anchor, business reporter at NTV, Nation Media Group. But most importantly, why I think I'm here is because I host a show called Takeover. It's airs every Monday, 7:30 p.m. It's a show that is dedicated to African tech. Everything technology. We literally handle everyone, all startups, those that are in concept stage and those that are unicorns as it is. We also talk about technology issues that are affecting you. For example, data protection, okay, sorry, that's sensitive. Sorry, that's sensitive. We talk about all these things in a way that concerns you. When I introduced myself, I saw some of you getting shocked. I know you don't watch TV, so you may not know me. It's okay. I know you don't watch TV nowadays, so that's allowed. I'll leave you to that. But please, every Monday, 7:30 p.m., let's meet on NTV for tech conversations for Takeover. Fair? Great. I'll be your moderator for the day. Because I'm a global moderator, world-class MC, I traverse this world speaking and making noise on people's podiums like this on issues of technology, business, renewable energy, and so much more. Let's do a bit of housekeeping as we start. Remember to manage your phones. These are the times when emergencies come in, being a month end, right? Bills and all that need to be paid. So please remember to manage your phones. I will not force you to put them on flight mode, just have them on silent. Please interact, network as much as you can. I have my business cards with me. Much as I know they're not as important nowadays, but there's an app called Blink, which I'll introduce to some of you if you come to network with me. So basically, WhatsApp is mix up with someone who you did not come with. Sit with somebody you've never sat with, interact, exchange business cards, talk, because at the end of the day, we are here for business, for impact, and for posterity. It's not fair that you come in and just sit with the same person who you are used to. Last but not least, the washrooms are when you exit the room, to the left, the ladies and the gents are there. I want us to have a good time. This is not a lecture, this is a conversation. It's a conversation we're having about the good of our country in terms of technology and how we can apply it in more practical ways in our lives, which is why I'm going to be passing the microphone on the ground to hear from you. You introduce yourself, you tell us what you do, and you give us your expectations here so that we are able to find a fair point to begin with as we lay premise. But I want to promise you a power-packed 2 hours or so where we're going to have great presentations, speeches, comments from industry players and non-industry players, both in government, corporate world, private sector, development partners, organizations, NGOs, and the like. So this is my chance to give you an opportunity. If you definitely won't get an opportunity to speak here unless you're on this table for today. But I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself, 1 minute or so, and tell us what your expectations are as we launch Innovate Kenya Tech Summit that is slated for next year in March. My point of contact will be Cynthia. Cynthia is at the back. Cynthia, just wave. Great, there you are. If you have an announcement, if you have anything, please take it to her, and then she'll bounce it off with me. It is unprofessional to come whisper things in my ears while I'm on stage. All right, let's proceed. There was a roving microphone on the ground. Cynthia, please help me with that. Who wants to start? There you go. Mukubwa has taken up the All right, so who's there? Who wants to go first? Let me do a bit of incitement. Who runs the world? Who runs the world? Yet you don't want to talk. There you go. There we go. Yes, there's a lady there. Let's give her half a clap. So half a clap is just one. Half a clap? Great. Introduce yourself. Tell us what you do.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Dr. Eunice Omoyo. I come from the African Center for Technology Studies. I'm here to represent the Green and Digital Innovation Hub, of which we are running in arts. So my expectations here is to serve to you our GDIH program and to tell you that we onboard innovators. So I would like to network with innovators, get to know what other hubs are doing in terms of green and digital innovation. Thank you.
Great. Have a clap again. Great. Please, if you don't want to talk, just clap for someone. Anyone else? This is a blank check for you. Please, write anything you want on it. Literally, why you dressed up so early, came here to come and hang out with us. Great. There we go. And your sector is very important, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Yes.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
My name is Nyamai Wambua. I'm the acting chief executive for the Kenya National Federation of Democratic Associations,
Yeah.
which is an umbrella organization for the formal sector in Kenya. Yeah, so it's a pleasure to be here. Probably my expectation is to get to understand whether there can be innovation without technology.
Okay, that's interesting. Come again? Where there can be innovation?
Whether there can be innovation without technology.
Okay, interesting. Give him a full clap. All right. Anyone else who wants to wow us with another philosophy this morning? Another blank check for literally anyone. Okay, let's go per department. Do we have government here, with an exception of Dr. Omoyo? Do we have, Umwansa rather, do we have government here? Great. Oh yeah, so there's a lady there, then there's a gentleman there. And I'll tell you why that gentleman is very, very important for us today. Yes, proceed.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Sharon Wata. I'm an IP lawyer, but I work for the Kenya Copyright Board, which is a state corporation mandated to administer and enforce copyright in Kenya. I'm happy to be here.
Great.
To learn and to contribute.
Your expectations?
To learn.
To learn and to?
And to contribute a bit of the IP that I know.
Great. Karibu sana, karibu. Half a clap, yes. There's a women empowerment table around there that almost had me on chokehold here. In Steve Simple Boy's language, let me not go there. But I don't know if you've had kumbavu zangu. Sorry. Yes, that gentleman, and we'll talk to you about assistive technology shortly. Proceed.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is James Hillary. I work with the Capital Markets Authority. And my interest here actually is about the sandbox webinar. So the sandbox is equivalent to Ibuka. And I think Homeboys is one of the beneficiaries of Ibuka.
Yeah.
So sandbox is to Ibuka for CMA.
Wow.
And actually, what I'm looking for today is Homeboys is one of those success stories which they started as a hobby. They made it professional. They came to the market, and now actually they got investors and funding at the NEC. I'm hoping to see more like Homeboys getting that opportunity and coming to the market.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Let's appreciate that gentleman. I doubt Mike remembers when I first asked him about the growth enterprise market, which is what Ibuka is at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, back in 2020, should be 2021 connected in Diani. I doubt you remember. You remember? Okay, great. So that is how far we come with technology issues and all that. But if Ibuka is basically an equivalent of a growth enterprise market where companies that want to list at the bows and open a counter are sort of orientated and gotten ready for active trading by you and by other professional investors. So think of it as such. Thank you so much, sir. Good to see you. And why it's important to have you here is we want to be inclusive in technology. Respectfully stating, one of the biggest problems we have in our country is that technology has been seen as the one thing that only people who are able, the normal able, like myself, are only supposed to access. But a bit of inclusion needs to be on how we innovate for people with disabilities, how we make it affordable for them to access some of these things. I'd want you, if you care, to, after this forum, just Google how much a Braille machine costs, or how much some of these very small things that need to include people with disabilities cost. And then you would understand why we are doing a disservice to that special group, and which is why we are here today, to speak about inclusion and so much more. while Wambua was also speaking about the Juakali sector, it got me also wondering, for those of us who may not have been to university and gotten a degree in engineering, welding, and all those kind of things, there are those of us who took time out of their usual schedules and learned something by themselves. How do we include them in what is known as recognition of prior learning? You know, it's very interesting because I'm from CI. I don't know where that RL is coming from. Good. That's good energy. I wanted to check whether you are alert. So, back to serious issues. So, let's talk about recognition of prior learning. Let's talk about how we include all these people. If, say, government today wants to have a tender on affordable housing, making doors, for example, windows, etc., the furniture that is used to do finishing for the affordable housing projects. This is something I've talked about in so many forums and so much. How do we include an Otieno, Awambua, and Juguna who has not gone to university, recognize their skills, give them a certificate, let them formalize their business, and be included digitally? Victor has something on that for us this morning on his presentation, which we'll be listening to later on here. Ladies and gentlemen, we still have a bit more of time. Who wants to speak? Who wants to say something? There we go. We have an NGO here, SOMO, by my very good friend, Mora. She's back from Malaysia. What were you doing in Malaysia?
Well, I think my title will kind of say it. So my name is Maureen Mora, and I work with SOMO Africa as the Partnerships and Fundraising Manager. SOMO is an enterprise support organization that supports micro and small entrepreneurs with capacity building, access to finance, and access to markets. So essentially, my main goal here today ties with the tagline, Innovation for Social Economic Development. I'm just trying to look at how do we include micro and small entrepreneurs in the tech space. And it's also an opportunity for me to be able to, open up and see how we can be able to collaborate. As SOMO, we have a set of digital tools that support these entrepreneurs to digitize their operations, and that is inclusive of a USSD and WhatsApp-based digital record-keeping tool. And when you hear micro and small, you hear underrepresented communities. Yeah. What should come to mind is they don't have access to certain resources that we do, as George has mentioned, or if they do, it's very limited. Yeah. And the limitations are brought about in terms of literacy. So having in mind those things should help us see when we're going to have this summit in 2025, how do we include such kinds of entrepreneurs. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to be here.
Asante sana. Half a clap.
Sio full.
No, ile women rep. Okay, sawa. Half ama full. Wacha tusikie women rep group. Full. As many of the opinions say aye. The ayes have it. Aye, full clap for Mora. Great. Aye. There's a gentleman right close to Mora there. Oh, sawa. It's okay now that you have the mic. Proceed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Golfas Committee.
Yeah.
I'm an advisor on issues of competition and consumer protection. A lot of anti-competitive practices and violations against consumers are now happening through the online platforms. You've seen investigations done across the world on such practices. So I'm here to network with all of you and to provide advice on such areas so that you're able to comply with the regulations and the laws regarding competition and consumer protection. Thank you.
Great. Half a clap for the gentleman. Had I been that generous, I'd have given it. There's a gentleman right there, close to Mora. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Good morning to all of us in the house.
Good morning.
My name is Bernard Lekora Morintat. I am an electrical engineer by profession, and I want to speak on three areas on why I am here. I am a regional design and construction engineer for Northeastern region for KPLC. One of the reasons why I am here is when you look at technology and where we are going with the renewable and sustainable energy or development in Kenya, we are going to a point whereby even domestic houses are going to be
a way that if you have a solar installed in your home, you can also be able to feed it back into the grid, and when you have excess generation. So this calls for innovation, even in the electricity sector in Kenya. And I'm here so that I can be able to pick a few things and learn a few things in that particular area. The other thing is, besides being with KPLC, I also have a company that we are running together with one of my directors, Rebecca Murori. It's called, the company is called Drone Crop Ventures, whereby we do high resolution spraying and also high resolution real-time imaging for agricultural farms. So I think that's also an industry whereby we need to be really developing. So as much as innovation is very important. So I think this is a very good forum to get to interact and get to share ideas across board. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Morintat. Let's appreciate that, gentlemen. Am I locking anyone out? Oh, all right. Let's have him, and then we come to you.
Morning, all of you.
Good morning.
My name is Jude Gaya. I'm a Deputy General Manager for Marketing in the Healthcare Group. Why I am here? Healthcare to me is something that is suffering in Kenya, and technology can actually squeeze into that gap. So I'm here to network with all of you, how we can actually improve on the healthcare that is getting to those who need it, as opposed to those in Nairobi and those who can afford it. More so in this point that, and especially affordability. Right now, she was coming, like you said, it's a very sensitive topic, but that's not for here. But let's improve on the technology and let's get healthcare to those who need it. So I'm here to actually gauge all of you to see how we can actually improve on that using tech.
Great. Thank you so much. Let's appreciate him. Oh, let me ask a question as he arises. One of the questions I've asked my guests on the show about digital health records keeping is, if you grew up in a typical Kenyan home like myself, I'm not a dynasty, so I grew up in a typical Kenyan home. Whenever you used to go to the hospital, there was a small booklet that you'd be given when you're going to the hospital. How many relate? Clap once if you relate. Great. Those who don't, we will bring it to you. Don't worry. It's very important what you just said about digital health. And so, randomly asking, how many of you can trace that book, even the first one, or even the latest, as you speak right now? If you have, I will. If you can access it, I will do something nice for you today. I'll give a reward to you. How many of you can access it? So imagine if we had, at that time, been doing digital health record keeping. We are able to tell your diagnosis all this time. Say, for example, if you're dealing with a chronic illness at this point, then we are able to tell your medical history, your treatment patterns, what drugs perhaps you react to, what medicine you react to, and how your treatment can be enhanced. So it's one of the questions I've asked my guests on the show for when we came talking about digital health record keeping, and it's very, very important. So let's handle that today too. Yes, we take you, and then we take the last lady at the back.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
My name is Oscar Tumuti. I'm here in a company called Black African Travels. You're all innovators, or you work with companies, so I'm here. Transport is very important in every aspect of what we do.
Sure.
So as we offer transport, airport transfers, we do traverse, so we have cars, so I'm here to network with everyone and see what we can do later. Thank you.
Very well. Let's have the lady. Let's appreciate him, first of all. Let's have the lady at the back. There's another gentleman right there, and then I think we'll close it.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Patricia Okello, and I'm the co-founder of Kayana Create. And Kayana Create is a community of female entrepreneurs, and you can see how the women gravitate. But I will not talk about women because I think we're well represented right now. I'm going to talk about a sector that's very dear to me, where we are very So I studied fine art at the university, and whenever I say that, people always think it's finance. No. Victor, I hope I'm going to hear data around the creative sector and how the creative sector is employing many people. We can see a business from the creative sector that was listed, as we spoke about earlier, and I think there's a lot of potential around there. And it's also a sector that is probably going to be very impacted with innovation, and I'd love to see conversations happen around that next year. Thank you.
Great. Two things as she sits. First, let's full clap for her. She's been the bigger advocate for women in tech in the forum today. Two things about that. Take over okay. So at least one episode per month is dedicated to women in tech. That's a policy, end to end. So the show has 4 segments. So there is the main, the tech news of the week, where we basically tell you what Elon Musk is doing in the world and how it's going to affect you. How, say, KRA is spying on your, And then now we get to the main discussion. And we do not discriminate, whatever discussion it is. Our episode for this week was Women in Cybersecurity. And why I think we also need to have this conversation about inclusion is because majority of the time it's been assumed that ladies cannot do the tougher, the tougher tech sections. We talk cybersecurity, we are talking about things like DevOps, system engineering and all that. Ladies have always been given, you go and handle front-end development, you handle UI UX. And now that you've talked about fine art, UI UX design is basically just the front interface of what you interact with on the application or on our website. Ladies are way better with that because of, first of all, their knowledge in colors and how to design and all that. That you people have a better understanding of aesthetics than we do. And on that we concede. Cindy? Great. Show takes a break, comes back, the startup of the week, and then we finish off with the DIY. One episode is dedicated to women all through. So even the last episode that we aired this Monday was in Women in Cybersecurity. Another thing on IP, when you were speaking earlier on, I just remembered how many startups we've worked with since my days in KTN, and Victor is a witness. We've handled these issues a lot. Somebody did not ring fence their innovation within IP laws and everything, did not sign any NDAs. The next thing they notice is their idea is being executed elsewhere. So how do you also ring fence some of those things within intellectual property? Another thing in the creative sector, one of the mistakes I see creatives do is we are seeing awakening around copyright issues, trademarks, and the like. You hear artist XYZ has been awarded this much money by the courts because the creator used their music in an advertisement and they didn't include them. And so it's now time when we are sensitizing and telling more creators, hey, before you use somebody's music, make sure you have at least a written down IP agreement that you're going to use whoever's music. As you say, set it, pick up, chapa nayo, I don't know what, you make sure it is ring-fenced within certain legal frameworks that do not expose you to legal liability in future. So that's great. Let's handle that also in the forum. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a fair point to leave it. Have you spoken? Let's give the gentleman and close at that point. Cynthia, please. There's a gentleman at the last table towards the door, and then we'll just close at that point.
Thank you. Good morning, Mom.
Morning.
My name is Chris Moshowo. I'm here on 2 fronts.
Sure.
I run an advertising and brand marketing agency.
Okay.
So that on that front, of course, what I want is to see where we can be able to network with those that wish to push the brands.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other one is what we call diabetics interventions and wellness Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
That one is more sensitive in terms of what we're doing.
Great.
And the same thing that you've raised, my brother Judy has raised, there's a lot that is required in terms of innovation and technology all without for those that have been challenged with these chronic diseases.
Mm-hmm.
We call them chronic diseases, but they are basically medical conditions.
Sure.
I would like to be in a position where we can be able to network or seek platforms with those that are able to help those interventions become true, to create that wellness that we are trying to go for. This is a group, a very big group, that lacks access to a lot of technology in terms of medicine, to a lot of affordable gadgets and what have you. And even seeing my brother here who comes from the competition field, if they can be able to kill the red tape that comes in play so that these people can get access.
Yeah.
That's all we are here to learn, to network. Thank you very much.
All right, let's appreciate that gentleman. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a fair point now to end it at. I think we fairly have we've laid premise enough. Cindy, now you have an idea of what you should expect, what or who you should now go and network with as the forum goes on today. Allow me now to get into the main program, and it's pretty simple. You're just going to hear a presentation of where the tech world is at in terms of startups as a country, how much strides we've made to get this on the road. Ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman I'm introducing is from Vifa Consult. Known to me for now, tumejuana miaka ngapi? Miaka mingi, for at least 4 years or so, when I was just starting my career back at KTN. And he's going to give us just the lay of the land.
We sat down with Mike a couple of months ago and just having conversations around tech. Of course, both of us have been in the entrepreneurship ecosystem for quite a bit of time. And what we see, of course, we have different moving parts that are happening in the country. So there is talk and there is evidence indicating that Kenya is doing very well in terms of innovation. Looking at indices, Global Innovation Index, Startup Ecosystem Index, the volume or types of funding that are coming into Kenya, we see Kenya doing 17% on average of all VC money that is coming into Africa, which is great. Yeah, but the question is, if you are to talk to a typical county government, if you are to talk to a typical director at a certain ministry in agriculture, do they correlate that innovation can be able to apply to them? So on one hand, we are seeing that innovation is growing at a very high pace. We are seeing a lot of innovation happening in private sector. We can see Daktari at the Kenya Innovation Agency spearheading and laying the groundwork for innovation, putting in the policy work, ensuring that the frameworks they work. But the question is, some director at Uasin Gishu who has a budget, who has ADP, who has their programs, still can't be able to pick that policy. Okay, so the question or the value that we wanted to bring is how can we, at this particular time, start engaging those people who are already doing work and trying to see how we can be able to bring innovation to where they are. Okay, and so here we have, from a national perspective, we have what we are calling the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, so better, which is, of course, aligned to MTP4, which is the medium-term plan 4. So the national government has set across government, and here we're not saying tech only or Ministry of ICT. Across government, there are already programs, there is budgets that have been allocated for them to be able to achieve certain targets. Same for county governments, they have their strategic plans, the CIDP, the County Integrated Development Plans, which is currently being implemented. So the question we're asking is, how do we bring innovation to plans that are already running? Okay, so we have the bigger players, laying the foundation, doing policy work. But the question is, how do we ensure that we're able to bring along everyone as we discuss innovation? So, of course, this ties very well with the theme where we are saying innovation that drives socioeconomic development. So, whenever we talk about M-Pesa, we don't think of M-Pesa as the back end, things happening. You always think as M-Pesa as a solution that is helping me, irrespective of social class or whichever business that I'm doing. So that's a typical example of a technology that is on the back end is very complex, but on the front end, Mama Mboga just knows that I can be able to. So basically, that's the general theme or push that is driving this conversation. Again, it's not a conversation that we are saying we own. We are just saying we want to be able to create a platform for us to be able to have conversations that can be able to support socioeconomic development and underpinned on current programs within government. And again, I'm always of the school of thought that whenever we do policy work, it's not a question of us against them. Okay, it's when I look at government, I look at a going concern. So yes, people come and go. We have political leaders who come and go, but ultimately the bureaucracy or government has to run. and we need to find a position or a way or a collaborative mechanisms to ensure that we're able to support government. So the conversation is, how do we support the current programs that are there? They might be weak, you might call them, whatever you want to call them. You might look at a CIDP and say the program under startups makes sense. For me, the idea is, can we be able to come on the table and say, okay, now I see you have a program around maybe capacity building for women or whatever you want to do. Can we improve this way, and possibly we can be able to inculcate some innovations? For Blue Economy, had no idea that such a program existed in Mombasa County. And for me, that presented a very big problem. Yes, I agree you are doing good work, but at the very least, there has to be a collaboration of sorts with the county so that we know if we are going in the right direction. So I think that really piqued my interest, and I was like, is there a possibility of us aligning, even though I know you have your your funding, your reporting lines, etc. But is there an opportunity for us to be able to sit and just take stock and see what we are doing and possibly how we can be able to help? So that sort of collaboration is what we are looking to explore. Of course, the whole issue of startup funding, getting investors, etc. But I think the niche or the focus around funding is just a conversation around how do we bring local investors such as Mike. And I think we had this conversation again at your office, is we have people who are buying land, people who are to Komachama and stuff. What are we not doing right to ensure that they're able to look and support an innovator, an entrepreneur in one way or another? Again, that's a conversation we want to have. We don't have the solution, but we are saying we are willing to be able to start this conversation. Of course, there are issues around the region. So whenever we talk about innovation, of course, we have different private associations that are focusing on the region. But the question is, how do we inculcate innovation in conversations around regional economic development? So that's, again, an area that we would want to focus on. So we came up with a number of themes, again, as proposals. And the question here we are asking is, how can technology help do something? Okay, that's the question we're asking. So technology or innovation is a tool. We, of course, have your CIDPs, you have your MTP4 as programs. And of course, there are different sectors. So we are not saying innovation is an ICT ministry conversation. It's a question of how can we be able to integrate or bring innovation and technology across different programs in government. This is, of course, focusing on national as well as counties, but I think possibly where there is a lot of impact and where a lot of work is done directly is with the counties. So we're talking about tech for inclusion. How do we bring marginalized communities, people who are in the north? How do we bring women? How do we bring people with disability? And ask the question, are they getting solutions? Yeah, so we can talk about blockchain, we can talk about whatever, but if it is not helping people, say, for example, people with disability, in terms of some of the challenges that they are facing, then what is the use of technology? Okay, so again, issues around health, and I think this has been mentioned as well, looking at current programs, health programs within the county. Let's say, for example, of Nairobi County, can we sit down with the chief officer, can we sit down with the waziri at the county and ask, what are you doing, what are your programs around health? How can we be able to inculcate innovation and technology within your sector? Remember, they already have budgets. Okay, so I always say you can look for money elsewhere, but this person has a program and has an allocated budget to achieve a certain outcome. So the question we are asking is, how can we be able to bring innovation to accelerate your achievement of whichever target that you want to have? Same goes for agriculture. Agriculture is a big sector in the economy. I think close to 40% to GDP in terms of contribution. That is directly as well as indirectly. I think Kenya Space Agency also is driving that ecosystem. So in a world, in the Kenya that we know, the space agency can be able, will, if not checked, can go and create a bubble or an ecosystem outside of innovators. So what we are saying is there are certain aspects or downstream technologies within space that can be applied in agriculture. So can we come and have a conversation? Okay, so with us asking that question, we're able to bring different stakeholders who can be able to come up with some solutions. Of course, looking at tech for jobs, and again, of course, this is a conversation that has been ongoing. Tech for entrepreneurship, gender equality, climate change, tech for governance, which is extremely important, rural development, regional integration, as well as gaming. So again, these are proposals. So we are saying these are some of the conversations we would want to have. And the focus is not on the innovation, but it's on a problem and bringing stakeholders to ask ourselves, how can we be able to solve these problems, but underpin it in government? Okay, so the government is our collective aspiration in terms of strategy. It might not be an accurate or a very optimal strategy, but we can be able to sharpen it as we move forward. So even as we leave this meeting, you can be able to give us suggestions, and I think some of you have been able to suggest. Again, we're very open. We can be able to take up whichever conversations that you think is important, and of course, we should be able to move forward together. So again, don't assume these things are cast in stone. So what does success look like? So whenever we have this type of conversation, the focus is always on, we want to make policy changes. Policy is hard work, it's a marathon. If you say you want to implement policy and make those changes today, I think then probably you're in the wrong room. And of course, Dr. Tony Omwansa can give you his war stories around trying to push for policy conversations. So we broadened success. So what we are saying is, even if we don't impact policy now, can we be able to see behavior change in government? Okay, can we be able to see mentions of what we are doing? Can we be able to have more engagements between government as well as the different stakeholders? Can we be able to increase our engagement and interactions with different stakeholders in government? One of the things that you notice is that a lot of us in Kenya engage with policy almost at the tail end. So if you are to typically look at the budget making process, a lot of us are waiting for the National Treasury, CS, to allocate funds to youth, education, etc. Usually that's almost at the very tail end. Is there a possibility of us working with county sector working groups, even at a national level? Is there a possibility of us influencing practically even actions? So even as we wait for policies to come, can we create relationships with chief officers, directors, both county as well as national government, to be able to influence and influence budget? You know what ukisema, get a capacity building program with Nairobi County or Uasin Gishu County or Kisumu County and focus on health and just do a bit of improvement. Even as we wait for policy, we can be able to influence relationship and behavior at this particular point. So that's really the focus around that. Of course, looking at policy, ensuring that in the long run, and of course, working in collaboration with different stakeholders, in the long run, we want an environment that works. But the reality, mambo kwa ground inakuanga tofauti. Yeah? So we want to be able to ensure that we are able to celebrate wins, we're able to get quick wins, even as we look at in the long run in terms of being able to change policies, budgets, etc. Of course, looking at changing practices, I always say something as simple as unifying a business permit does not require a change of law. Okay, so us going and saying the processes around licensing is suboptimal. Can we improve that? You don't need to change a law to be able to do that. It's just a question of practice. Maybe a county would say we don't have budgets, but I'm sure if we were to sit all of us together, academia, ESOs, private sector, development partners, we can be able to get that budget and we can be able to achieve that outcome without having to go through exchequer. I'm sure, of course, all of us have mistrust of government. And like I said, for me, government is a going concern. Yes, I might not like the governor who sits at a certain county, but remember my objective or the goal is to be able to help Mama Mboga, is to be able to help young entrepreneurs. So I can be able to put aside my dislike for the governor or whatever, but focus on the bigger goal. So that's that in terms of success. So question is, like I said, we don't want to have a conference because we want to do a conference. We want to be able to spark continuous conversations that we're able to monitor and we're able to bring different stakeholders. So we've set up, again, a number of activities or programs that we want to achieve before March. Again, the summit is just a continuous conversation. So we want to start the conversation now. And of course, we've started here. Of course, we're not going to exhaust everything. So what we are saying is we want to do 3 activities. Number 1 is to do podcast. Of course, a lot of young people in Kenya use technology, and I think this is evident to all of us. We want to be able to have just deeper conversations. The thing with a lot of summits is even if you're given 3 hours, you'll never exhaust whatever you want to discuss. So again, feedback to us is if you've, based on the thematic areas that we've identified, can we be able to have conversations? Can we have Dr. Tony, can we have Juakali, and can we have some for them to sit down and discuss what is the implication on innovation on micro, small enterprises or the Juakali sector? And just try to unpack that. It's not an academic exercise, it's just a conversation for us to be able to explore solutions around the same. So of course, again, we are open to feedback. If you feel there's a theme that you want us to discuss, again, you can reach out to us, and possibly we can be able to have that. And of course, we'll be able to air it in different channels. Of course, Twitter forums, again, just different themes trying to unpack. And the idea is to be able to get different facets of people. They always say people who are on Facebook are dinosaurs. I don't know, people on Twitter, I don't know what Gen Z ama. But what we are trying to do is to be able to create platforms that allow different demographics to be able to come into play. And lastly, we are looking at having county town halls. Again, like I said, the ultimate goal is to be able to bring or carry along officers who work in counties as well as who work in national government. You'd be surprised that if you talk to a director in a certain county, maybe around education or trade, a lot of them, either they entered the workforce as high school, maybe after finishing high school. So they've been moving around within the different sectors, but they're not competent in that sector. So it is expected of them to be able to deliver, but sometimes they don't have capacity and they are shy, for lack of a better word, to come say, I don't know. So this platform, in terms of county hall, allows us to be able to have a conversation in a manner that is respectful, in a manner that allows for us to be able to get solutions. Yesterday, I think we were having a policy conversation in Nakuru County. And one of the things we were discussing was around allocation of stalls within county government. You'd be surprised that there is no policy, there is no process towards the same. So soko inatengenezwa, the first person to come gets the opportunity. And for what really interested me is that they were willing to listen to stakeholders in terms of getting a solution. So guys were like, why can't you register associations, then allocate the stalls? Someone was like, no, get an automated system where everyone is able, within the county, is able to do KYC. The ID says you are from here, etc. Then automatically allocate that through technology. Typically, technology would never have featured in that conversation. But the fact that we had a town hall conversation, a problem was floated, different solutions were given, and ultimately a solution was given in terms of why can't we just use technology to give that particular ballot. So the question was, do we need a policy? Do we need regulation? Do you have, what do we need? But again, that's a good place to start. So that's the different conversations we are going to have. The second activity that we want to be able to achieve, and again, you might say this is almost redundancy or repeating. So some of you know that I worked for the county government of Nairobi for 1 year, and I decided to look for greener pastures at the end of the year. So I worked between January and December 2023 at Nairobi County. So my focus was looking at a digital economy as well as startups. One of the things that a lot of people, different either local or international investors, were asking me is, do you have a consolidated database of all startups in Nairobi? And leave fintech, because fintech, of course, is a different ballgame. So a lot of them were saying, we want pipeline around health. We want pipeline around, and of course, you can take them to Vilgro. But the question is, they wanted a comprehensive list or database that they can be able to look and make an investment, make a proposal. So that's something that really has remained in my mind. So one of the things we also wanted to do is to be able to create a self-register optional, so it's not a must for startups to be able to register with us. So again, what do we want to do? We want to be able to, of course, to give you visibility. We want to be able to create opportunities for you in terms of being able to access different stakeholders. It might be investors. It could be private sector, it could be development partners. So you'd find, like, for example, Save the Children, they want to engage innovators around, whatever, maternal health or prenatal, whatever they want. Where do they go? So if they want solutions around that. So it's very difficult. Either they go to the Ministry of Health, maybe watume kwa Tony, tena Tony amtume maybe kwa Vilgro, etc. So we just wanted a central port where you can be able to get a complete and comprehensive list of startups across different sectors. And of course, other than linking or partnering them with investors, is to be able to give them resources from different quarters, is to be able to showcase them. So just to celebrate, whenever we hear about innovations in Kenya, is always M-Pesa. Whenever we hear about innovation, everyone is M-Pesa, M-Pesa. So we want to be able to showcase that in a different way. We want to be able to engage them in policy conversations. So a lot of techies want to code, want to do stuff, but ultimately policy becomes a conversation that they want to be plugged in. You don't want them to do it randomly. We want to be able to, for them to be able to do it in a systematical way. So again, lastly, is for them to be able to get a community, for them to be able to grow their enterprise. So the second thing around registration is investor registration. And of course, here we are looking at both international as well as local investors. And more so even private companies registering and saying, we want to go through a process of understanding what it is to invest in a startup. So we want to be able to create that platform. They can register with us either as VCs, but I think our focus largely should be, is going to be on local angel investors. So your typical Mr. Kamau or Mr. Otieno, who has a portfolio and wants to balance their portfolio. Yes, we've invested in real estate. Yes, we invested in stocks. We are saying, can you come and have conversations around investing in young entrepreneurs? Of course, also pipeline is a major problem or a major challenge for a lot of investors. So again, if you want a pipeline in different sectors, this is going to be an interesting portal for you to be able to come. So of course, that's an activity that we would want to be able to do before the summit. So during the summit, again, these are proposals in terms of activities. Our idea is to be able to showcase different technologies, different case studies that are applying or are helping out. So here Somo is saying that we have an automated process that allows for SMEs to be able to do record keeping. That's something that maybe, for example, Jua Kali Federation would want to see how it works and how it can be used in that particular sector. So it's a place for us to be able to share knowledge. We are talking about health. There are different solutions around health. Some of them are practicing in private sector, but maybe county or national government doesn't have visibility of that solution. Can we come? Can you showcase? Can you tell us your successes, your challenges, etc.? So again, of course, having paneled conversations just for us to be able to learn. But the idea is these activities are going to be designed by not only us, but you. So hopefully as we come out from the summit, we'll have practical programs that we're able to collaborate on. So we don't just want a talk shop where we come talk and say, okay, fine, we've had a keynote speaker, someone has spoken, hey, unasikia venye John aliongea kizungu hapo, hey, jamaa amesoma. I mean, that's not the idea. The idea is for us to be able to come with actions that we can do to ensure that we're able to move from point A to point B. We might not be able to achieve a lot, but at least if we're able to achieve even 1%, I think that's going to be extremely important. Of course, we want to extend that through more county conversations. Probably we'll start with 3. Then probably we can be able to see how we can be able to scale that across the different counties. Look at how we can be able to implement programs so that if UK is doing some program, GIZ is doing some program, can we be able to have visibility of all programs that are taking place within a certain county? So what we see currently, for example, in Nairobi, if you are to ask someone how many women economic programs are being run in Nairobi, chances are you don't know. And we see a lot of redundancy, duplication. Someone is doing, like if you go to Kayana trains, same women, different donors. That is wastage of resources. Can we be able to align those resources so that the funds are allocated to areas that really need them? Of course, we are looking at monitoring of stakeholder programs. So even as we finish the summit, is people make commitments. So what we want to try to do is to be able to track the commitments that you've done and if you actually following through. Of course, registration of startups and investors is a continuous challenge. or not a challenge, but it's a continuous process. Market scoping activities. One of the biggest challenges that we have in this country is always access to markets. So if you talk to a typical startup, other than Kenya, a lot of them don't have visibility or in Tanzania, Uganda, EU, America, etc. So one of the areas that we want to focus on, of course, in collaboration with different stakeholders, is how do we scope different markets to ensure that the startups who are within our database are able to see and possibly expand. Because the conversation has always been, for you to expand, you need investor money. So any typical pitch deck, itakwambia, we want to go to Tanzania, but we don't have cash. The problem is not always cash. Sometimes it's a question of, if it's a product that has real value, it can scale organically using revenue. So we want to be able to do that. We want to be able to scope investors, both the typical investors as well as bring to the table other investors who typically don't even see themselves as investors. Lastly, we are looking at policy advocacy. Like I said, that's not the only focus. Of course, policy work is done in collaboration with different stakeholders, but it's an area that we would want to focus on. So that's that. I hope that has been helpful. Like I said, nothing is cast in stone. We are saying we are open for business, we are open for conversations, and of course we are looking forward to our partnership as we go towards the Innovate Kenya Summit in 2025. Asanteni sana.
Very well. Just come back on stage. Let's appreciate the presenter. Let me ask Cynthia to pass me a roving mic so we can have a small tete-a-tete with Victor about that report and just to make sense of it a little more. But great insights, ultimately. I think you can use that. It's okay. Great insights. I like particularly that you spoke about interpreting these tech programs within counties that already have budgets that can and should be, giving services to the people on the ground. One of the biggest problems currently we have right now is that counties have not received cash to date. Now, that's not important. Okay, it's important depending on what lens you look at it from, because there's a body that is in charge, the commission that is in charge of allocation of these resources. And they were saying that, for example, by itself can finance 100% of its annual budget purely based off of on-source revenue, OSR. We have seen tech being employed in a couple of counties to optimize OSR collections. And currently, it's only about 15% of total budget, of average budgetary allocations for counties. Just what are we missing out on by not employing tech in collecting some of these taxes, levies, municipal fees, etc., etc.?
So I think for me, it's just being able to shift that conversation. So, and this is based on my experience at the county, and of course, Tony can be able to attest to this. So there's a lot of resource, there's a lot of goodwill that is there in the ecosystem. The budget that I ran at the county was not from the exchequer. Yeah. It was based on collaborations that I had or we continue to have with the different stakeholders. If you talk to maybe, for example, to Tony, you'd find that, I don't know what the percentages are, but you'd find that a majority of the programs that he ran is funded or supported by different stakeholders. So I think that's the shift. We know that government doesn't have the fiscal headroom to be able to implement programs. So if you go to any county right now, the guys are sitting and taking tea. And they're like, I don't have a budget. And if you look at ADPs, the annual development plans, a lot of them are saying we've planned to do X, but we can't achieve because of lack of budget, and that passes. The question is that enough? Okay, what can I do? Typically for myself, that's the question I ask, what can I do? If it's a capacity building program, I can volunteer my time for me to be able to come train. Just give me fare, give me transport, possibly I can be able to do. And that's the spirit we want to encourage. Yes, we can bash government and say government is bad, government is stealing, it is fine, but ultimately the people who are in jeopardy are our kids. So I always say, is there a possibility of using the resources that we have on this side, because there's also a lot of wastage and redundancy, bring them to government and see how we can be able to implement programs. And as long as these programs are aligned to our strategic plans, as well as both county and national, then of course it's a win-win. So that's the angle I would look at it. Otherwise, if I try to solve government challenges, we will never finish. So of course we have corruption, we have a lot of issues. So I cannot control that. I will only deal with something that is within my power to control.
All right, I wanted to take a few questions, comments, and reactions, but I've seen Mike Rabao walk back in. So I don't know if we can usher him to come to the stage to say something, or we go straight to the Q&A. All right, great. Another roving mic is needed, Cynthia. So perhaps we have another roving mic on the ground. Questions for
county or in selected counties where we can be able to help our people without depending on government to bring in this money. And then I'm thinking about the Gen Zs who are currently have created a lot of noise, which is a good thing for the country because we are globally active. Everyone knows about Kenya right now. But how can we use that energy for Brand Kenya? You know, remember the Brand Kenya board in the past, they gave us uniform for Kenya or something like that. But how can we use the Gen Z's energy to go into the innovation space so that we're not talking about employability? We're talking about them being entrepreneurs, Juakali sector and blah, 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 and being able to do that. And then, of course, I've thought about attracting investors. How do we leverage on this summit to be able to get local investors, people like Mike Rabai and other people, who come to the table after we've segmented the different sectors for the startups or the innovation spaces. And of course, I've talked about diversity and inclusion. Of course, I've mentioned about segmentation. So being able to be very clear on, and I've seen the education capacity building, all that, but how do we segment it clearly and be able to map out all these segments to tangible outcomes? And then I've thought about idea protection. So we have a lot of talent in Kenya, and sometimes the people with the talent, they won't hear about us. They won't know about this innovation week happening. They will not be able to know about the county government being able to have budgets or not. But how do we reach these people who later on are the ones who actually go to the Silicon Valley to develop solutions for the world? And then, of course, innovation culture. How do we move Kenya from being the political culture that we are to the innovation culture so that our way of life sort of changes? And then, I was part of KCP Lions then, and I was the project manager, worked with Mike. So I'm thinking about, as we go into this summit, how do we use media, your channel, there's an Party Tuesday channel, I have no idea about, to grow our energies to innovation. And of course that goes with the media engagement. Thank you very much. I've said many things, but I had to.
Let me ask two rhetorical questions.
Yes.
Two rhetorical questions. So interesting because the things that you were asked are actually touching on me directly. So I just turned 27. I'm Gen Z.
Nice.
First generation, 1997, yeah. Before I mentioned today that I host a show on NTV, it's actually on Monday, not Tuesday. Before I mentioned today that I host a show on NTV, did you know about it?
We don't watch TV anymore. I don't.
The show is equally on digital, by the way. The show is equally on digital. So the thing is,
we are on Twitter Spaces. So if you want to bring any conversation, bring it, and I'm happy and sweet it's there. Twitter conversations. Bring this to Twitter Spaces because that's where we are.
Are you on Instagram?
Yes, but
you are on Twitter.
Everywhere. But Twitter Spaces is what works.
Are you on Instagram?
Yes, I am.
Are you on Twitter?
Yes.
Search at Brian.ke, see how many numbers I have. Just go and search. Okay. There's a financial literacy podcast which hosted by myself, a tech show, and all these things. What I'm driving towards is today there's an impeachment verdict that should be ruled upon. If I put for you a headline like Maureen Mora has innovated a new fintech that is sending money to freelancers in Africa, and I put Which one will you go for? Speak honestly.
Remember what I mentioned? Innovation, culture. It's all culture. Culture. Political culture, yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
One of the struggles we had with the editors in the newsroom, and this I'm saying with a lot of respect, so my colleagues are here. One of the struggles we had with the editors in the newsroom when I was coming in 2019 was, look, all of us here can go and report and say, certain MP did this, certain MP said this, certain MP said that. And it's normally they're normally trying to flesh out the very bad news. But here's the thing. We're trying to tell editors that, hey, even good news is news. Sadly, don't sell in this culture. It must be fitted in somewhere after news has happened. You get me? So the reason why we even have the tech show on Monday at prime time is so that we get a good, and by the way, it's been getting some good traction. We have over 1 million viewers every other week when we watch, when the show goes on air. The numbers are bigger in digital now cumulatively. So we have 1 million only on mainstream, but then on digital and all other platforms that we distribute, it's just go on NTV website and search Takeover. Look at some of the conversations there. If you don't like it, come and give you a time. Number two, if I got a fintech today, if I made a fintech today, you have your money. You have put in your head this idea that you have to go and get that plot in Kamuyu. If I come to you and pitch and ask you to put money in my innovation, would you consider it?
I'll do my calculations and believe it or not. You're talking to the right person, yeah.
So where I'm driving towards is, my uncle would not want to listen to anything about my fintech or my startup or whatever. They're looking at what is the next piece of land I'm supposed to buy, where am I putting up my next plot, etc, etc. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're trying to change the culture. Even when Victor was doing the debrief about this summit, he was saying, investors don't have to come from Hungary, Delaware, Hong Kong. They're here with us. Can we change that concept? Anyway, he will respond.
George, last but not least, TVET. How do we, the TVET that's going on and the future?
Yeah.
How do we bring innovation in that space? Thanks.
Vocational training and all that, Kenya National Qualification Authority, recognition of prior learning and all that. Do you want to take her questions? I'm at
No, I think some of the questions that they don't have to come to me. For me, I'm ascribed whatever resolutions that we agree is what I will pick.
You're much like a rapporteur. By the way, seriously speaking, just as you write,
Branch and Victor, I think it was a fantastic debrief. So, as I said, of course, we are happy to be here, and I'm sure we don't look Juakali, but nevertheless, I came with Felix. Felix is our agency and is the head of membership at the Juakali Federation. You can see that when you talk about Juakali, it's not some old gray-haired men who have never been to school on the streets, so we are all like. So I have three issues. One, I just want to recognize we allow two gentlemen who have really been great partners to us. Of course, beginning with Victor, but there's another Victor here, Victor Mwanga from the ILO, International Labour Organization, where we've been doing stuff around digital skills and digital jobs. And Tony, DG CEO, actually one of our very youngest and say Gen Z Juakali member from Turkana County has been awarded by the Kenya, because he has won a presidential award on tech, but in welding. And basically, he innovates. He has a mobile welding workshop in Turkana County. And I think those who know in Turkana, there's a Turkana stool in Akanyonga Namaze, which is made of wood. I think we are very common. Then he has now innovated, and he uses now the staff towards environmental conservation and climate change intervention, and that is an innovation. And Tony, thank you very much for. He's actually been also awarded, become a national hero by another.
Before we go further, can we have that story? I want to tell you.
Yes, we can do that. Please, yeah. So I just want to mention those two and appreciate and say, yes, Somo, we are very interested to pick up your innovation around recording keeping for artisans and also for business. But I have My question is what I asked before, whether we can have innovation without tech. I think sometimes this conversation we need to unpack innovation and tech, which is which, because definitely there are a lot of innovations. And therefore you to be innovative, you don't have to be in tech, I guess so. So therefore, sometimes, and from where we are actually, our mantra is also the Juakati sector is the home of innovation. But I'm not very sure whether we are the home of technology or so to speak. So how do we bring that marry those two? And this is because we have a huge, it's a sector that has a huge, serious divide. If you talk about whether it's digital tech or whatever type of tech, and one of the things that we are dealing with and we require solutions, and even investors is one. When we talk about for example, the recognition of prior learning, we realize that because our skills and competencies that our members in brick and mortar and physically, but we government and the regulators in the space, they're saying, can we document and archive the evidence of your competencies and skills that you have acquired over a long time, shape and the form of your evidence. So we are talking about, is it digital RPA or an MI system that artisans can be used over the length of their time. So that if you're going to be working for the next 5 years, they lose a lot of evidence and a lot of, because the assessment uses something they call portfolio evidence. So you provide photos, videos, or even physical stuff. So I think that is an area that is becoming a challenge, because they do not have access to the technology they utilize. And even if the government creates portals, I think we are in the world of portals, where you're told upload, save, and all that. So that is an area that we thought to enable and to facilitate recognition of prior learning for our members. The other one is just yesterday. Yesterday I had a meeting with NAIA, National Employment Authority, and the Ministry of Labour. They are saying the jobs that are in the informal sector are not visible in the labor market. So we have people looking for jobs, and they are not available. So they were asking, could you declare the vacancies of the jobs that are available in the informal sector, in the NAIA portal or in the certain government portal? Then we realized that when we went to the structure of the solution, the digital technology available, even by government, is completely incompatible with the character and the lifestyle and the culture of the informal sector. Yet, this is the sector that we are saying is providing up to almost 80% or over 80% of the new jobs. So I think the issue of technology, whether it's digital or it is equipment or whatever machinery, is it available to pick up the innovations in terms of job creation or the innovation in terms of services and products that are in the informal sector. I think that is an area, and that's why I was asking in your thematic, your themes, in the proposed themes in the summit, probably, and Victor will agree with me, we have standards or case studies when we want to address the informal sector globally. There are means and approaches of bringing in technology and innovation to support the informal sector so that it can also become part of the entire ecosystem. I think that responsiveness of technology that is speaking to the innovations in the informal sector is very critical. So whether it's formalization or whether it's digitalization, whatever it is, but for us I think we need to support the informal sector, and we need to see what innovative technologies are available to support the sector globally, and especially from the supply side. Because I think we are always treated as we are the demand side of technology, of tech, so the supply side of tech should also be responsive to the needs of the sector. Thank you very much.
Great. I don't know if I should welcome Mike on this point because it's already 10 a.m. But let's take a couple more questions. If we do not make enough time, perhaps just get a Google link where we will give you an opportunity to give feedback anonymously also, because I understand some of us may not be very, very easy to speak. But let's hear from her. Someone please pass her the microphone.
Hello,
yet this particular sector can generate money for various innovators and investors. So it would be a particular good conversation. It would be good to have conversations to shift the particular perception that assistive tech is not a charity case, but as well can be put as a business model. And if it can be actually put as a proposal in the theme for the summit.
Very, very important, very pertinent. Let's appreciate her for that question. Yeah, definitely that will and should be addressed today. Do we have anyone? Any other burning question? There's a question here at the Women Reps desk, and then there's one. So now, because of proximity, let's have you. Hello, how are you? You promised to give it 30 seconds? 30 seconds. Aye, so proceed.
Yes, context of career development.
Great.
What do you have in mind?
Upskilling, reskilling, and the like. Let's have the lady there, and then we'll have her as the last question. Then we will end the formal program.
Thank you. Hi guys, my name is Carla Meveri. So I've been listening to the presentation you're making, that Victor made. So we're going to have the Kenya Innovation Week happening next month, and the key pillars you've highlighted, things like human capital, access to finance, access to market infrastructure, policy. These are things they're also going to cover. So I just have like a suggestion, if you could have somebody from your team also participating the Kenya Innovation Week next month, so that you see the conversations that are happening. Thank you.
Great. Cynthia, there was someone here at this table, and then we'll close.
Hello, good morning. I'm from ACTS again. When it comes to education, it's at my heart. When it comes to the 2030 Vision 2030, when you talk about innovation in education or using technology, I feel it's always about education tech, where someone has a website, people can just go and read. But then, in education, we have the arts and we have the sciences. And I feel there hasn't been a lot of emphasis in using technology in STEM. For instance, can we revolutionize the way we teach science by having online laboratories? We have the virtual reality, we have the augmented reality. Is it possible if we can have technology in this aspect so that we can revolutionize the way science is taught in our schools? It's so abstract, students, they just get out of the system when they don't even understand some of these experiments, which are very essential. So if we can make virtual laboratories, through the Ministry of Education, this can revolutionize our sciences.
Great. There we go. Do we have any urgent responses from our professionals, especially Chanamwanta, or anyone who wants to respond to any burning point? Victor?
Like I said, I think today for me is just to keep silent. I don't want to impose ideas. I think some of the issues that you've raised are already either in a thematic theme in terms of tech for education. Of course, Tony is here and we are participating and we continue to participate at the Kenya Innovation Week. The idea is to be able to just be able to tackle the angles. From a policy angle, we have people who are doing that. For us is just focusing on just applying or adopting technology on the ground right now. So again, like I said, we are plugging into the ecosystem, not coming to disrupt. I don't think we see ourselves as that, but just seeing how we can be able to expand the conversation. So for us is to listen, and get feedback.
Let me respond to something that the Jokali gentleman mentioned, where to get these informal jobs. What I see happening in the startups I've covered, the ones I've worked with, are very short-term job locations. So platforms where they list plumbing services needed in Kileleshwa or electrical services needed in Syokimau, etc. You could check up this job and then they go check up. Now the challenge with this picture is that these are startups. So their marketing budgets are very limited, first of all. So that is why there's not much uptake. And then you find replication. So you find like in that sector only, there are like 5 startups we've covered offering the same thing, which is a good problem. But now the issue is they're not able to reach as many people because their marketing budgets are very lean. So they depend purely on word of mouth. I'm sure, I think either of us here have logged into an application that offers where these short-term jobs are listed. You ask for, let's say, gardening services, you get them there. You ask for plumbing, etc., etc. So that's what I see mostly happening, but they have very limited marketing budgets. On inclusion in tech and recognition of prior learning, the other question I've been asking industry leaders is, can we have an motive from where I come? You know, ask questions about engineering in Blue, for example. No, think about it. Just think about it. Alain Olkulal asked questions about plumbing in Samburu language as a part of inclusion. How many of us have taken, let's say, lessons in coding? I have. Data analytics, Excel, whatever. At a personal level, please raise a hand if you have. Confidently, please. I have a clap for you. Great. So the other question of, do you know that is actually part of recognition of prior learning? Because it's not something you went to study in school. This is something you sat behind your computer after your normal 8 to 5.
Every concept in biology, physics, chemistry, and maths from different syllabuses. We have got 3D animations we developed. We're the first company in the world to have done that, because when I was in the exhibition in 2008 in BEP, which is the largest edtech exhibition in the world, my company was the only one which had world-class 3D animations. But they did not take us seriously because we came from Kenya. But I'll tell you now, I've got about 4,000 schools using this in all over Africa in different countries, 650 schools in Kenya. So when the students see, they understand. So I've got virtual lab as well. So everything, but of course, going out in the market, it has not been easy because of both infrastructure. So doing it offline, in the last 5 years, I've done about 300,000 kilometers going around schools. But before that, when I was taking this to other countries, by the way, my first ICT integration I did in 1989. So I've got 35 years experience with technology in different verticals. But what I want to tell you the good news now, right? You talked about Innovate, you talked about career. So what I'm doing, like somebody's mentioned also about Starlink. So Starlink completely changes the game. So now what I'm doing now is I'm telling schools that earlier the whole, the propagation of this solution was not very effective because of the infrastructure, and then the offline, it was difficult. So now that we have Starlink, so what I'm telling schools is that the parents can put up money to put a smart screen, an Android TV in the classroom, and you have the Starlink connected. So you've got good broadband connected to every classroom, and parents can also access the online. So I've now got a learning management platform where I've put all the content so parents can access this on their phone, on their laptops. But the most important thing is that imagine now every classroom, whether you're doing CRE, economics, business, we are using AI is integrated into the LMS. So we are generating fantastic lesson plans, we are generating fantastic lesson notes, we are generating videos for every lesson, whether it is economics, CRE. And if you go to schools, I go to the schools, a lot of things not reported in the media. But a lot of students don't really enjoy being in school. And the current generation we have, their thinking is very, very different. Yeah. So, but now imagine now in the classroom, every lesson, there's a video. So now they enjoy, not only they enjoy being in the classroom, the learning happens. Wow. So that's what I'm doing now, and I think this can address that. Once you have the platform, you have this internet connection, I think it takes care of all the education portion if you can all work together. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Let's appreciate him for that great work he's doing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are edging towards the close of today's event. Allow me now to bring Micro back from Homeboys to come and give us what experience Innovate Kenya Tech Summit 2025 will be like from his own lenses. Welcome, Mike. Let's appreciate him as he comes.
Do you want to hold or I mount it?
I'll hold.
Okay, great. There you go.
Thank you, Brian. Good morning, everyone. Morning again. I hope you all had breakfast. Yes. So my name is Mike Raba, founder CEO of the Homeboys Group of Companies, founded many years ago, in early 90s. I just want to start by thanking Victor for taking this leap of faith and setting up this initiative together with us. We've been in this event space for many, many years. I just feel it's about time we try and formalize or create a platform where, as a stakeholder in this industry, try and give young upcoming businesses a chance, one, to be noticed, to be identified, and to be supported. Our journey has not been an easy one, but we managed actually to break through and get listed in the NSC through the GEMS listing, as actually announced by my colleagues from the CNA. And that for us has been a very big undertaking, a big milestone in the history of the business, and has also led to very many advantages that's now helped us stand here and be able to almost become a mentor to a lot of young companies. But I'll just run you through quickly the history of the business, so you all understand, those who don't know us, where we came from. So founded in the early 90s, setting up businesses then was not easy at all. Yeah, we had no personal networks, there was no access to finance. It was purely on word of mouth, and actually somebody said driven by passion. And that passion actually is what has helped us withstand all the tribulations that you face as a startup and get to this point. But today the tech landscape has evolved, tech has evolved, and platforms like Innovate Kenya, which we're working together with Victor and team, would help entrepreneurs connect directly to investors, access knowledge, and explore collaborative systems in a way that you could imagine previously. So once we launch the platform, we're able to link willing buyers, willing sellers. I think for us, the journey of listing has opened up a lot of doors for us. We are forever in forums discussing our journey and sharing our experiences. We have met a lot of potential partners who want to come into this market in various sectors, not just in entertainment or tech, but they see us as a very easy conduit in which to come in and bring in resources, both finance and human. So I believe that we are well placed as an institution now to attract most of these partners. And so when I met Victor, I said this, I told Victor, listen, we have a lot of potential investors. We need to put a lot of resources into this country. And I think this country is very well placed right now to accept and has been very well positioned to attract. But what we're lacking is a space where we can actually profile, identify, nurture, and mentor those who need some kind of capital investment. So with platforms like the Innovate, somebody mentioned a portal that we're going to be building and launching at the same time as we launch the summit, we'll be able to actually identify or link these innovators with potential partners. I don't want to take too much of your time. I know time is running short, and we really have to move on, and I think there's a big announcement happening soon. So everyone's just holding their breath and looking at their phones, I can see. Yeah, you're excused. But needless to say that really I appreciate you being here this morning, taking time out, especially Dr. You're a very busy person, yeah, and your team, being here to actually listen to what we're trying to propagate, willing to support us. It is obviously going to be a journey of faith, and as Victor also mentioned, that the journey does not start with the summit. The summit is part of the execution. So we'll launch some initiatives as early as next month, and hopefully we'll be able to get you into that journey. And come the summit in March, we want to make some major announcements, which will be, I think, will also help just realign what the innovation means to a country like Kenya. So once again, thank you so much for your support, and look forward to seeing you in March. Thank you.
I would not have you leave, so I think we just come for photo ops as we bring it now to a close. Mike, and then I'll call the other leaders periodically. Perhaps we could have some soft music in the background. Okay, great. So as they line up on this side, let me invite the CEO of Kenya National Innovation Agency, Tony Omansa, to come and make a few remarks in terms of support from the government and the goodwill that we most need for this to be a success. Karibu.
I
thought I was coming for a photo.
No, no, it's okay. We'll get into that.
We'll get into that. Okay,
yeah.
Just very quickly. I sat in there listening. I had my name mentioned about 15 times, and comments and questions my way. I didn't come to make any remark. Honestly, I was invited by these two great gentlemen to come and give support. So I don't know whether I came in my personal capacity or office or whatever. But anyway, Tony Omwansa is my name, and I think I know a number of people in the audience. Over the last 3.5, going 4 years, spent some time to put together a national innovation institution from scratch, literally walking in alone into a room, and I was told, this is the agency. And then, try to build the systems that go with it. And that journey has been an amazing. So I've seen it from a startup standpoint, what it really means to stick at something and trying to build something great out of it for our country and for generations to come. But I must say, probably things like Kenya Innovation Week or Presidential Innovation Challenge and Award, all these innovation master plans and various efforts to support the growth of the national system of innovation, which is what we've been doing. We've prioritized 2 areas. One is commercialization systems, and this we are looking for solutions that are well researched, that needs to be supported to become commercially viable. And in this case, work a lot with universities, with research centers, TVETs, and so on and so forth. And the second pillar is to try and explore how do we make our startup ecosystem globally more competitive. And every time I look at all these rankings that we do, Global Innovation Index, and so on and so forth, there is so much work to do. There's so much work to do. We sometimes say we're doing well as a country, but when you do proper comparison, you realize there's a lot to do. And that's why it gives me joy to see efforts, particularly from private sector standpoint, to try and make a contribution. And many a times we think government should do very many things, but government can only do so much. And it's not an amazing executor, given how complex it is. So every opportunity we have to support private sector efforts towards the national system of innovation, I will create time for it. Not practical to be everywhere, given how many initiatives are running, but we try as much as we can to be as supportive as we can. So therefore, Mike and Victor, suddenly my assurance from the Innovation Agency, we haven't got there with all the resources that we would like to have to influence as many things as we would want, but count on our support in whichever way, whether we used to rally the broader government into this, attract some resources, get some endorsements, get some resource persons and so on and so forth to support, we would. I thought it would be useful to speak to the issue of technology and innovation. We come from the position that innovation is change that adds value. As simple as that, change that adds value. It doesn't matter the sector, it doesn't matter the discipline, it doesn't matter the complexity, and we can use different things to enable that change to happen and the greater value to be created. And technology is one of those that then enables us to make innovations that have greater value and greater impact. With that in mind, count on Kenya as a great partner. Thanks.
Great. Now you don't want the photo again. You're running away. Which note you can?
I didn't know what I was asking for.
Yeah. So let's have them have a look at what the program will look like, just for photo ops and getting a good image for headlines tomorrow and all that. Just something too you could create. Yeah. Okay, kwa wale hawaelewi, hii ni ile moment ya nipige kama sioni hii. Pige picha kama sioni hii. So that's the moment at this point. All right, great. There you have it. Akukwa na mziki ama Mosiria is not coming, I promise you. He won't come. All right, great. That's okay, we ended at that? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we really just want to appreciate you so much for making time and resources to make it here today at this launch. This is just the beginning, or rather the continuation of what needs to be happening on a periodical basis. It's not an event at the end, really. It's just a means towards that. But you'll see us more in conversations, in TV interviews, online, on Twitter Spaces, where's Maithia? And so many other platforms where we continue to elevate these conversations whether or not you had an opportunity to speak today, you will still be heard. We will get a feedback mechanism where you can submit your concerns and the like. It's been a pleasure hosting you this morning. My name is Brian George Otieno. You can catch me on NTV every Monday, 7:30 p.m. and every other day reporting general news, but mostly tech at 7:30 p.m. because tech must live forever. Enjoy, network, and God bless.